All right, welcome to day 20 of the 100 Days of Python Coding Challenge. I'm Bill Mosley, and I'm going to be walking you through some new stuff today. Let's get coding, but if you need access to the starter code for this project, you can find it at bmosley.com. That's bmosley.com/HTTP. The link is also in the notes below this video. So we're actually going to start out with some code that I pre-wrote for this project. And all this does is draw a single petal of a single flower. And obviously, this is a little bit more involved than the previous flowers we've been drawing. So I'm going to run this and show you what it looks like. And it draws this single flower petal. And I acknowledge it is not high art. It is just pretty basic, but it's got the blue petal with a little bit of yellow detail in there. And that kind of gives me a starting point for this project. Now, as you noticed, there is a lot of code here for a very small amount of product at the end. And if I wanted to draw a flower or even a field of flowers, if I just repeated this code over and over and over, or even put it in a loop, it's kind of bulky. And so what I'm going to show you today is how to make the main part of your program much smaller by using something called a custom function. Now, we've been using functions. Print is a function. These are functions. The circle is a function. It does something, and we give it what are called arguments. Arguments tell that function some detail about what it's supposed to do. So this is, of course, the radius of the circle and the number of degrees that it's going to draw. So functions are not new to us, but what's new here is that we are going to make a function. And the way that works is we're going to define a function using the define keyword, or DEF, and we're going to call this function draw petal, and we're going to put parentheses after it. Now later on, we're going to define some arguments to be put into this space here, and actually, when we define them, they will be called parameters. Parameter is sort of a holding space for an argument. When I give it the number, when I call the function, it's called an argument. So you'll hear me use both of those things. And it might seem like they're interchangeable, but they have a slight difference. Parameter is the space for the argument, and the argument is the actual data that we give it. So after the empty parentheses, I'm going to put a colon. And then everything that I want inside that function is just going to be indented. So all of this code that I use to draw the petal, I'm going to highlight and I'm going to tab it over. And now that function, draw petal, will do all of these things. So when I say draw petal, it's actually going to draw a petal. So if I want to now, I can just roll that up and you can see those lines are just condensed. They're still there. And now if I say draw petal like that, it's going to draw the petal for me. So if I run that, draw petal, there it goes, draws one petal. Now, let's see if I can speed up that turtle a little bit. And we'll just set it to 0, the fastest of all the speeds. And so I want it to draw multiple petals. I can say turn right 90 degrees, draw petal again. So let's see what that does. That didn't work the way I wanted to. Let's try it going left 90 degrees. I think that might give us a better... Well, there is an interesting couple of petals. So we've got to make sure that our ending space is where we want it to be, or our ending direction is where we want it to be. Um, and so if we're going left 90 degrees, we probably need to, inside this, actually reset it a little bit better. So we're going to need to go right about 80 degrees. And then let's see if that resets it the way we want it to. Okay, we're getting a little closer. We just want this pedal to be controllable a little bit better. So let's see here. Okay, so that's pretty close. Let's just go 95 to be safe. Just making a little bit of tweak there. So now these are at the proper angles. So I'm going to roll this back up so I don't have to see it. You can see the main part of my program. Oops. The main part of my program is just, a few lines of code. So now if I wanted to draw a whole flower, I could say int petals equals 6. And then we can do int angle equals 360 divided by int petals to give us the angle of turn in between the petals. And then we can say for x in range 0, comma, int petals. And we can say draw petal. And then right, actually, let's just go left. And then int angle. Let's see how that works. And there we've got a cool flower design generated in just a few lines of code. So now that we've defined a function, we can use that function very easily. Now, before we go, we're going to take this sort of the next level. And you can see here we've got two colors. And instead of having those be static, let's say str color. We'll call that color 1. Don't worry about the fact that it's underlined in red right now because we're going to take care of that. The color 2. And now in our defining for the function line, we're going to say str color 1 and str color 2 so that we can define those colors on the fly. Now, what we can do is, if we do an even number of petals, we can have every other petal be something different. So we can draw petal, let's say cornflower blue, and then light blue, and then we will draw, actually we're going to have 2 rounds of draw petal here because we've got, we're going to alternate colors is what we're going to do. So we've got, and that's cornflower blue, there we go. Light blue on the first one and yellow. And you can see it's labeling these arguments with the parameters that they go into, even though it's a custom function. Left int angle, and let's change that to 8, and let's check out our design here. There we go. Let's do this. Okay, so there is our design with the alternating petals. We could do 10. And the reason I gave this extra slash here was to defeat that error. If I use regular division, then the result is a float. So what I use is floor division, and that, oops, didn't mean to do that. If I use floor division, which is the 2 slashes, then it makes sure that the answer is an integer. And the response has to be an integer to make sure that we're doing this correctly. Because you can't have a range that has a 0 and a float. Those two, that data type does not belong there. So that's why the error, and that's how I addressed it. But there is our 10 petal flower. And you can see we can do quite a bit of intricate designs now with just a little bit of main code. And this is, of course, the function that we created using that code that we used as a starter code. But now we can feed it things like colors. Of course, we could go in there and change the size. For a real challenge, see if you can develop a combination of the last assignment with the flowers that were scaled, and using this one, draw petal. Then we can do a more intricate flower. See if you can scale it and add the stem and that sort of thing. So let's see if you can play around with this a little bit.